My best friend started a prank war, so I let karma finish it. Jake had been my best friend since middle school. We were the kind of close where we could show up at each other's apartments unannounced and raid the fridge. So when he put hair dye in my shampoo and turned my hair bright orange 2 weeks before my sister's wedding, I wasn't even that mad. I knew how prank wars worked between us. I'd get him back, he'd escalate, and eventually we'd call a truce. I spent 3 days planning the perfect revenge. Nothing too crazy, just filling his car with packing peanuts while he was at work. But the morning I was supposed to do it, I got to his apartment complex early and saw something that made me pause. Jake was walking to his car carrying a stack of boxes. I ducked behind another vehicle and watched as he loaded them into his trunk. The boxes had logos from his company on them. Tech equipment, expensive stuff. He kept checking over his shoulder like he was worried someone might see him. I figured maybe he was bringing work home, except he worked in sales, not IT. And he was loading the boxes at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe his company let employees borrow equipment. But then I started noticing other things. Jake suddenly had money. Not like a little extra cash. Real money. He traded in his 10-year-old Honda for a new BMW. Started talking about investing in crypto and taking trips to Miami. When I asked where the money came from, he said he'd gotten a huge commission at work. His company sold software to hospitals. I worked in insurance. I knew what sales commissions looked like, and they didn't look like this. The prank war continued. Jake got me good with a fake parking ticket that looked so real I almost paid it. I retaliated by signing him up for every spam mailing list I could find. We were both laughing about it, posting videos of our pranks online, our usual routine. But I kept noticing the boxes. Every few weeks, Jake would load more equipment into his car early in the morning or late at night. Always when he thought nobody was watching. Always checking over his shoulder. Then one night, I was at a bar with some work friends when I overheard a conversation at the next table. Two guys in business suits talking about a company that had been losing equipment. Laptops, tablets, servers, thousands of dollars worth of tech just vanishing from their inventory. The company name they mentioned was Jake's company. I went home and couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those boxes, the new car, the sudden money. Jake wasn't just borrowing equipment, he was stealing it, probably selling it online or to pawn shops. That's when I decided to stop the prank war. I texted Jake, saying I was calling a truce, that the pranks were getting old and we should just hang out normally. He seemed relieved, said he'd been thinking the same thing. But here's the thing about Jake's pranks. His last one hadn't been aimed at me. 3 days before I called the truce, Jake had filled someone's car with plastic balls as a prank. He'd been bragging about it, showing me pictures. Said he'd gotten the wrong car in a parking garage, but it was hilarious anyway. The car had a company parking sticker on it, the same company Jake was stealing from. I'd seen the sticker in his photos, recognized it immediately. Jake had pranked his own company's head of security, filled the man's personal vehicle with plastic balls, not realizing whose car it was. The head of security's name was Marcus Webb. I knew this because I'd looked him up on LinkedIn after making the connection. Former police detective, current director of corporate security. The guy literally investigated internal theft for a living, and Jake had pranked him. I didn't tell Jake what I'd figured out, didn't warn him that he'd just put a target on his own back, because Marcus Webb wasn't the type to let pranks go. He was the type to investigate. The next week, Jake started acting paranoid. He mentioned that people at work were being weird around him, that his manager had asked him to stay late for a meeting, that IT had requested access to his computer for a routine audit. I just nodded and changed the subject. Then yesterday, Jake called me at 2 a.m., his voice shaking, said he needed to talk, that something bad was happening. I asked what was wrong, and what he told me made everything clear. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I need you to help me. Jake's voice crackles through my phone. It's 2:13 a.m. according to the glowing numbers on my nightstand. They found everything. They know. I sit up in bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. Who found what? What are you talking about? The police, he whispers, his voice trembling. They raided my apartment an hour ago. They had a warrant. They found all the equipment I had stored in my closet. The laptops, the servers, everything. My stomach drops. I'd known this was coming, but hearing it actually happen sends a cold wave through my body. Webb was there, Jake continues, his voice breaking. Marcus fucking Webb. He led the whole thing personally. Stood in my living room with his arms crossed while they went through everything. He looked at me like he knew. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. I rub my eyes, trying to process what I'm hearing. How much did they find? Enough, Jake says, his voice hollow. Enough to put me away for years. They're saying it's grand larceny, corporate theft. They had serial numbers for everything. Matched them all to company inventory. I think about the boxes I'd seen him loading into his car for months. How many times had he done this? How much had he actually stolen? Where are you now? I ask. Police station. They're letting me make calls before processing. Listen, his voice drops even lower. They're asking about my whereabouts for specific dates, times when equipment went missing. I need you to back me up. What do you mean? I need you to tell them I was with you. Those nights when you saw me loading stuff into my car, I need you to say we were hanging out, playing video games, anything. The request hangs in the air between us. I think about our friendship, all those years since middle school. The pranks, the inside jokes, the times we'd had each other's backs. But I also think about what he's been doing, stealing from his company, lying to everyone, using our friendship as cover while he committed felonies. Jake, I say carefully, what exactly did you take? He hesitates. It doesn't matter now. What matters is, it does matter. How much are we talking about here? Another pause. They're saying over $200,000 worth of equipment. The number hits me like a physical blow. I'd imagine maybe a few laptops, tablets. Not this. Not a systematic theft operation running into 6 figures. Jake, I can't lie to the police. What are you talking about? His voice rises with panic. You're my best friend. We've always had each other's backs. This isn't about forgetting to return a borrowed shirt or covering for you when you ditched work. This is felony theft. I can't perjure myself. They're going to ask you questions, he says, desperation creeping into his voice. Webb is going to ask you questions. He knows we're friends. He'll want to know if you saw anything suspicious. I think about the plastic balls, about Jake's prank that targeted the one person at his company who was most dangerous to him. The former detective who probably recognized the pattern of theft long before the prank, but used that incident to focus his investigation directly on Jake. Did Webb mention the prank? I ask. The one with the plastic balls? Jake's breath catches. How did you know about that? I never told you whose car it was. You showed me pictures, Jake. I saw the company parking sticker. I looked him up. And you didn't warn me? His voice rises with incredulity. You knew I'd pranked the head of security and you didn't say anything? anything? I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the moment. I didn't know for sure what you were doing, but I had suspicions. The boxes, the new BMW, the Miami trips. It didn't add up with your sales commission story. So what? You just let me walk into this? Let Webb catch me red-handed? The panic in his voice is turning to anger now. Some friend you are. Jake, you were stealing from your company. What did you expect me to do? I expected you to have my back, he shouts, then immediately lowers his voice, probably remembering where he is. Listen, just tell them I was with you those nights. That's all I'm asking. I take a deep breath. I can't do that, Jake. I'm not going to lie to the police. They're taking me back now, he says hurriedly. Just think about it, okay? Think about our friendship. I'd do it for you. Before I can respond, the call ends. I sit in the darkness of my bedroom, phone still in hand, trying to process what just happened. My best friend since middle school is being arrested for stealing over $200,000 worth of equipment from his company, and he wants me to provide him with a false alibi. I think about my sister's wedding, now just 13 days away. My hair is still bright orange from Jake's shampoo prank. It seems so trivial now compared to what's happening. I lie back down but know I won't sleep tonight. All I can see is Jake loading those boxes into his car, checking over his shoulder, not realizing that his own actions, both the theft and that stupid prank on Marcus Webb's car, were setting in motion the events that would destroy his life. And now he wants me to go down with him. I wake up to my phone buzzing with a news notification. Local tech employee arrested for corporate theft, exceeding $200,000. My stomach drops as I click on it. There's Jake's face staring back at me from his company headshot, looking confident and professional, nothing like the panicked voice I heard just hours ago. The article mentions how police recovered stolen equipment valued at $217,850 from his apartment, with investigators believing the total theft could exceed $300,000. I scroll down and see a quote from Marcus Webb, identified as head of security and former detective, stating that this was the culmination of a months-long investigation. My phone rings. It's Jake's mom. Have you seen the news? Her voice is shaking. They're saying he's been stealing for almost a year. Did you know anything about this? I had suspicions, I admit, feeling my throat tighten, but nothing concrete until he called me last night. She starts crying. They're saying he could face up to 10 years. 10 years. He's only 27. After promising to visit Jake as soon as he's allowed visitors, I hang up and immediately get a text from a number I don't recognize. This is Andrew Keller, Jake's attorney. We need to talk about your statement. Jake says you can provide alibi information for several dates in question. Please call me as soon as possible. I stare at the message, feeling sick. Jake's already trying to use me as his get-out-of-jail card. I don't respond. By afternoon, my Instagram and Twitter are flooded with messages from our mutual friends. Someone started a rumor that I turned Jake in, that I was the one who tipped off security. How could you snitch on your best friend? Reads one message. Jake would have taken a bullet for you, and you stabbed him in the back, says another. I try explaining to a few closer friends that I didn't report Jake, that he got caught because of his own actions, but no one seems interested in that version of events. According to them, I'm the villain in this story. My sister calls around dinner time. Are you okay? I've been seeing all this stuff online about Jake. I'm fine. I lie, running a hand through my still bright orange hair. Just dealing with the fallout. Is it true, what they're saying he did? Yeah, I sigh. He admitted it to me on the phone last night when they arrested him. He wanted me to provide a false alibi. Jesus, she whispers. And you said no? Of course I said no. What was I supposed to do? Lie to the police? There's a pause on her end. Some of his friends are saying you knew all along and set him up. That's bullshit. I snap. I didn't know for sure until last night. I had suspicions, but what? I saw him loading boxes into his car a few times. I noticed the new BMW, the trips to Miami. It didn't add up with what he claimed he was making in sales. And you didn't say anything to him? I feel a twinge of guilt. I didn't want to accuse my best friend of being a thief without proof. 2 days later, I get another call from Jake's lawyer asking to meet. Against my better judgment, I agree. The law office is small but expensive looking, with leather chairs and framed diplomas on the wall. Andrew Keller is younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with sharp eyes and a perpetual frown. Jake tells me you're his closest friend, he says, not bothering with pleasantries. We've been friends since middle school, I confirm. Then you should know he's in serious trouble. The prosecution has security footage of Jake removing equipment from the building on multiple occasions. They also have evidence connecting him to that prank on Marcus Webb's car. The plastic balls? I ask. Keller nods. That's what started this whole thing. Webb was already suspicious of inventory discrepancies, but after the prank, he focused his investigation specifically on Jake. They have footage of Jake filling Webb's car with those plastic balls. He was wearing a hoodie, but they enhanced the image and identified him. I close my eyes briefly. So what do you want from me? Jake says you knew about his activities, that you saw him with the equipment. I saw boxes. I didn't know what was in them. But you suspected, Keller presses, and you didn't report it. That doesn't make me an accomplice. No, but it doesn't make you look great either. He leans forward. Jake is considering a plea deal. The prosecutor is offering reduced time if he provides information on others involved in the theft ring. Theft ring? There are others? Keller's expression tells me he said more than he intended. I've already said too much. But Jake wanted me to tell you that if you don't help him, he might have to help himself by any means necessary. The threat hangs in the air between us. Is he threatening to implicate me? I ask, my voice surprisingly steady despite the panic rising in my chest. He's desperate, Keller says, neither confirming nor denying. People do desperate things when facing years behind bars. I stand up. I'm not going to perjure myself for Jake, and if he tries to drag me into this, I'll tell the police everything I know, including this conversation. That evening, I get a call from Jake's mom again. She's been to see him, and he's told her I'm refusing to help. He says you could vouch for him being with you on some of those nights, she pleads, that it would make a huge difference in his case. I can't lie to the police, I tell her gently. I'm sorry, but I just can't. After everything he's done for you, she says, her voice hardening. All those years of friendship, and you can't do this one thing? After we hang up, I check my social media again and immediately regret it. Someone's created a hashtag, Jake's Judas. There are dozens of posts from people I considered friends, condemning me for not standing by Jake. Some even suggest I knew about the thefts all along and stayed quiet so I could turn him in later. I scroll through comment after comment calling me a snake, a backstabber, a traitor. One post has a photo from my sister's engagement party last year, me and Jake smiling with our arms around each other's shoulders with the caption, Redemption. This is what betrayal looks like. Hope your conscience is clear while your best friend rots in prison. I close the app and toss my phone aside. My hair is still bright orange from Jake's stupid prank, a constant reminder of our friendship. My sister's wedding is now just 11 days away, and instead of worrying about how to fix my hair, I'm dealing with being vilified for not committing a felony to protect the person who put me in this position in the first place. The irony isn't lost on me that Jake's last prank, the one on me, is the only one that didn't blow up in his face. Instead, it was the one on Marcus Webb that finally brought everything crashing down. I'm at the coffee shop 3 blocks from my apartment, hunched over my laptop trying to finish a project, when I feel someone slide into the booth across from me. I look up and freeze. Jake's sitting there, his face drawn and tired, wearing the same blue hoodie he had on in his arrest photos. Surprised to see me, he asks, his voice eerily calm. How are you out? I managed to ask, glancing around nervously. Made bail yesterday. Mom put up her house as collateral. He drums his fingers on the table. Funny how you didn't visit me once. Jake, save it. He cuts me off. Your lawyer friend Keller told me everything. How you refused to provide an alibi. How you're planning to testify against me if it comes to that. He's not my friend. He's your lawyer. Jake ignores this. You know what I keep asking myself? Why? Why would my best friend since middle school suddenly turn on me like this? I didn't turn on you, I say, keeping my voice low. You got caught stealing from your company. That's on you. His eyes narrow. Is it though? Because I've been thinking about the timing of everything. How Webb suddenly focused his investigation on me right after the prank. How you knew who he was but never warned me. I didn't. And then there's my sister, he continues, leaning forward. I've seen how you look at her, always hanging around, offering to help with wedding stuff. Is that what this is about? You thinking if I'm out of the picture, you can finally make your move? The accusation is so absurd, I almost laugh. Are you serious right now? Your sister is getting married in less than 2 weeks, to someone else. Plans change, Jake says with a shrug, especially when the bride's brother goes to prison. I close my laptop, suddenly aware we're in a public place having this conversation. This has nothing to do with your sister. This is about you stealing over $200,000 worth of equipment. $350,000 actually, he corrects with a strange pride in his voice. They found more at the storage unit. My stomach drops. You had a storage unit? Several. He leans back, studying my reaction. What, did you think it was just the stuff in my apartment? That was barely a month's worth. I try to process what he's telling me. The scale of the theft is even bigger than I imagined. And I wasn't alone, he adds, watching me carefully. Why do you think I haven't taken the plea deal yet? What are you talking about? Jake lowers his voice. You think I was the only one involved? Half our friend group was in on it. Ryan, Devin, Sarah, they all helped move equipment. Chris handled the online sales. Even Marcus's assistant was feeding us inventory schedules. My mind reels at the names, all people I know, people I've hung out with for years. You're lying. Am I? He pulls out his phone, taps the screen a few times, and slides it across the table. Watch this. It's security footage from what looks like a loading dock. The timestamp shows 2:17 a.m. I see Jake wheeling a cart loaded with boxes toward a car, and then Ryan, one of our closest friends, appears, helping load everything into the trunk. There's plenty more where that came from, Jake says, taking his phone back. Hours of footage. Everyone's face is clear as day. So what do you want from me? I ask, my mouth suddenly dry. I want you to understand what happens if you testify against me. His voice drops to a near whisper. Webb has footage of me, sure, but I have footage of everyone else. If I go down, I'm not going alone. The threat hangs between us. Are you saying you'll implicate our friends if I testify? I'm saying I'll implicate everyone, Jake says, his eyes cold, including you. I feel my heart rate spike. I wasn't involved in any of this. No? Remember last September when you helped me move those new furniture pieces into my apartment, the ones in the big Dell boxes? He raises an eyebrow. There's security footage of that too. Looks pretty damning when played in court. I remember the day he's talking about. He'd said he'd bought new furniture and needed help carrying it upstairs. I'd never seen what was actually in the boxes. That won't hold up, I say, but my voice lacks conviction. Maybe not on its own, but combined with text messages where I asked if you could help move some stuff and you said yes, the fact that you knew about my new car and trips but never questioned where the money came from, looks like tacit approval at best, active participation at worst. I feel sick. This is blackmail. This is survival. Jake corrects me. I'm looking at 4 to 6 years. You really think I'm going down without taking everyone with me? Including your actual accomplices, I point out. He shrugs. Collateral damage. They knew what they were getting into. And what about your mom? She put up her house for your bail. Something flickers across his face. The first genuine emotion I've seen. That's why I need you to back me up. Say you didn't see anything suspicious. That you thought the boxes were just sales materials. That's all. You want me to lie under oath. I want you to be vague enough that they can't pin anything concrete on me, he counters. Your testimony could be the difference between me walking away with probation or spending years in prison. I stare at him, trying to reconcile this calculating stranger with the friend I've known since we were kids. The person who put orange dye in my shampoo as a prank, now threatening to destroy multiple lives to save himself. Jake, this isn't you, I say finally. He laughs, but there's no humor in it. This is exactly me. You just never wanted to see it. He slides out of the booth and stands. Think about what I said. The preliminary hearing is next week. Webb will ask you questions. Your answers will determine what happens next. As he turns to leave, I call after him. Jake, he pauses. Did you ever consider just telling the truth? Taking responsibility? For a moment, something like regret crosses his face. Then it's gone, replaced by that cold calculation again. The truth is, whatever we make it, he says. That's how the world works. I thought you knew that by now. I watch him walk out of the coffee shop, my hands shaking slightly as I open my laptop again. On the screen is an email I'd started drafting to Marcus Webb, asking to meet before the hearing. I'd wanted to understand exactly what they knew, what they'd found, before I got pulled any deeper into this mess. Now, with Jake's threats echoing in my ears, and the knowledge that our entire friend group might be implicated, I'm not sure what to do. My sister's wedding is in 10 days. My hair is still bright orange, and my best friend just threatened to frame me for a crime I didn't commit. I close the email draft without sending it and pull out my phone instead. I scroll through my contacts until I find the number for the district attorney's office that was listed in the news article about Jake's arrest. best. Sometimes the only way forward is through the fire. I sit in the courthouse, trying to ignore the weight of all the stairs burning into my back. The courtroom is packed. Jake's family, our friends, company employees, even a few reporters scribbling notes. My sister sits beside me, her hand occasionally squeezing mine when she senses my anxiety spiking. The trial has been going for 3 days now. Today is the day Marcus Webb testifies. When he walks to the witness stand, I'm struck by how different he looks in a suit compared to the security badge photo I'd seen. Taller, more imposing. His eyes briefly meet mine as he's sworn in, and I see a flicker of recognition. Mr. Webb, the prosecutor begins. Can you tell the court what prompted your investigation into the defendant's activities? Webb adjusts his tie. We've been noticing inventory discrepancies for approximately 8 months. High-value items, servers, specialized laptops, networking equipment were disappearing despite our tracking systems, showing them as still on premises. And what led you to focus on Mr. Harrison specifically? Webb's expression hardened slightly. On April 17th, I discovered my vehicle had been filled with approximately 3,000 plastic balls while parked in the company lot. Security footage showed someone in a hoodie tampering with my car around 2:15 a.m. The prosecutor displays the enhanced security footage on a large screen. Even from where I'm sitting, Jake's face is unmistakable despite the hood. After identifying Mr. Harrison as the perpetrator of this prank, Webb continues, I began reviewing footage from nights when equipment went missing. We found multiple instances of Mr. Harrison loading boxes into his vehicle during off hours. The prosecutor methodically walks Webb through the evidence, the storage units, the online sales accounts, the total value of stolen equipment. The final number makes me wince, $352,476. And what did you discover about others potentially involved in this theft ring? The prosecutor asks. We identified several other employees who assisted Mr. Harrison in removing equipment. Based on our investigation, Mr. Harrison appeared to be the ringleader who recruited others and coordinated the sales. I feel sick, as Webb describes how Jake systematically targeted employees with financial problems, offering them quick cash for helping move equipment or looking the other way during inventory checks. Names I recognize: Ryan, Devin, Sarah, Chris, all implicated, but to varying degrees. When the defense attorney cross-examines Webb, he tries to paint him as having a vendetta against Jake because of the prank. Isn't it true that you focused your investigation on my client only after he embarrassed you with this childish prank? The attorney asks. Webb's response is measured. The prank accelerated our investigation, but Mr. Harrison was already on our radar due to the pattern of thefts coinciding with his after-hours access. During the lunch recess, I hide in a bathroom stall, trying to calm my racing heart. My testimony is scheduled for this afternoon. Jake's threat still echoes in my mind. If I go down, I'm not going alone. When I return to the courtroom, Jake's eyes follow me. He looks different after a week in custody, thinner, harder somehow. The confident smirk is gone, replaced by something colder. When my name is called, my legs feel like lead as I walk to the witness stand. The oath feels heavy on my tongue. The prosecutor approaches first. How long have you known the defendant? Since middle school, I reply. About 15 years. And in recent months, did you notice any changes in his lifestyle? I swallow hard. He traded his Honda for a new BMW, started taking trips to Miami, bought expensive clothes. Did he explain these purchases? He said he was making good sales commissions. The questions continue, each one bringing me closer to the moment I've dreaded. Finally, the prosecutor asks about the boxes I saw Jake loading into his car. Did you ever ask what was in those boxes? I take a deep breath. Once. He said they were sales materials and demo units. And did you believe him? I look directly at Jake as I answer. Not entirely. The frequency and timing seem suspicious. Jake's eyes narrow, and I can almost hear his thoughts. I warned you. When the defense attorney takes over, his approach is immediately hostile. Isn't it true that you helped my client move boxes on several occasions? Once. I correct. Last September. He said it was furniture. And you never looked inside these boxes? No. Convenient. The attorney's tone drips with skepticism. Isn't it also true that you knew about Mr. Harrison's lifestyle changes but never reported your suspicions? I didn't have proof of anything illegal, or perhaps you were benefiting from these thefts as well. The prosecutor objects, and the judge sustains it, but the implication hangs in the air. After I step down, I feel drained. I told the truth, but I'm terrified of what Jake might do in response. I don't have to wait long to find out. The next morning, Jake's attorney announces that his client wishes to change his plea to guilty, but wants to make a statement first. The courtroom goes completely silent as Jake approaches the stand. He looks around the room, his eyes lingering on his mother, who's quietly crying, before finally settling on me. I want to apologize, he begins, his voice steady. To my company, to my family, and to my friends who trusted me. He pauses. Especially to my best friend since middle school. I hold my breath, waiting for the accusation, the lie that will drag me down with him. I betrayed his trust. I put him in an impossible position by asking him to lie for me. Jake's voice cracks slightly. And when he refused to compromise his integrity, I threatened him. The courtroom remains absolutely still. The truth is, I acted alone in planning this theft. I manipulated others into helping me, often without them fully understanding what they were involved in. He looks down. I'm solely responsible for what happened. I can hardly believe what I'm hearing. This isn't the Jake who threatened me in the coffee shop. 2 days later, the judge sentences Jake to 4 years in prison with the possibility of parole after serving half his sentence. It's less than what the prosecution asked for, partly due to his full confession and cooperation in recovering some of the stolen equipment. After the sentencing, I wait 2 weeks before visiting Jake in prison. My sister's wedding has come and gone, a beautiful ceremony where I stood with normal colored hair. The orange dye finally faded. The photos show me smiling, but anyone who knows me can see the sadness behind my eyes. The visiting room is stark and depressing. Jake looks small in his prison uniform, his confidence completely gone. Why did you do it? I ask when we're seated across from each other. Not the stealing, I get that part. Why did you let me off the hook? Jake stares at the table between us. My mom came to see me the night before I changed my plea. She told me she was disappointed not in what I did, but in who I'd become. He looks up. She said she raised me better than to sacrifice my best friend to save myself. So your mom convinced you to do the right thing? No, Jake says quietly. She just reminded me of who I used to be. Before all this, he gestures vaguely at our surroundings. Remember when we were kids and I broke Mrs. Linden's window with that baseball? You were with me, but I told her I did it alone because it was my throw. I nod, remembering the incident from 6th grade. That used to be me, Jake continues. Somewhere along the way, I lost that person. He meets my eyes. I'm sorry about your hair. For what it's worth, the orange actually looked kind of cool. I can't help the small laugh that escapes me. No, it really didn't. We talk for the remaining 20 minutes, not about the trial or the thefts, but about old memories, about the friendship we had before greed corrupted it. When the guard announces time's up, I stand to leave. Will you come back? Jake asks, vulnerability plain in his voice. I pause, considering the question. I don't know, I answer honestly, but I'm glad I came today. As I walk out of the prison, I feel a weight lifting, not completely gone, but lighter. The betrayal still hurts, but beneath it all, I caught a glimpse of my old friend, the one I thought was lost forever. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to start rebuilding from the ashes of what we once had.